to the Committee on Public Safety, Judiciary, and Homeland Security. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Kniezek, Commissioner Kinlock,
Present.
Commissioner Basham,
Here.
Vice Chair Scott, Chair Clark Coleman.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item.
Item B, Chairwoman's remarks.
I have none. Oh, yes, I do. I just want to welcome the prosecutor here today. Do I see her? Yeah, I thought I saw her. I want to welcome the prosecutor here today. I know she is a busy lady, and so we're honored that she takes time to come and visit us from time to time. So, but we're going to move through the items real quickly so that we can have a presentation from the prosecutor. Okay.
Item C, approval of the June 15, 2022 meeting minutes.
Support.
Properly moved by Commissioner Kinlock, supported by Commissioner Basham. Are there questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. Madam Clerk.
Item D, unfinished business. There is none listed. Moving on to item E1 under new business, communication from Samaya Harb, Director of Administration, Sheriff's Office, forwarding a report on Sheriff's Office overtime costs. Yeah, she's on Zoom.
Good morning. Good morning. Can you guys hear me?
Okay, yes. Go ahead.
Samaya Harb, Director of Administration at the Sheriff's Office. This is my monthly overtime report. As of May 20th, we had spent $8.3 million in overtime. We do have a jailers training that just started this week, June 27th. And we have 19 candidates in that class in hopes that everybody makes it, and we'll have 19 new officers start with us soon. We have a few things that are outside of our control that affects the overtime spending, one of which is the number of vacant police officers positions, 374 as of May 20th. We also have 94% of our staff on FMLA, whether it could be intermittent FMLA or full-time FMLA, but that does exacerbate the need to expend overtime. We also have 87% of our sheriff's employees tested positive. They could have tested positive 2 or 3 times since the pandemic started, and sometimes that's why they go on FMLA. Is there any particular questions you want me to answer?
Questions from board members? Oh, okay. We'll move on. Oh, yeah, we need a motion for receipt and file.
So move.
Properly moved by Commissioner Kniezek.
Basham. The name is
Oh.
Basham right here.
Commissioner Basham, supported by Commissioner Scott. Are there questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Next item.
Item 2, requesting commission approval of a county jail's COVID-19 testing reimbursement grant with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Good morning. This is Sumaya again. This is a new award that we just received from the state. The award is $5.4 million. The award is very narrow and specific in its allowability for reimbursement. At the Sheriff's Office, we could not find any expenditures that we can ask reimbursement for. So we contacted HHVS, and they identified about $2.8 million that they will be requesting for reimbursement, one of which the contract with Memorial that does the testing at the jails, and another, the testing that happens at JDF for the COVID PCR test. They'll be asking for reimbursement for that. We found out this morning that this award will be extended to September 30th, which is a great thing. September 30th, 2022. So that way we can have more expenditures being reimbursed by the state. Also, HHVS will be requesting some of the costs for 3 nurses and 1 accounts payable that does nothing but vets invoices and process payments. That is related to COVID-related expenditures. So we're working on it. We're trying to get as much reimbursement as possible, making sure that we're not double dipping. That's why the sheriff's office could not find expenditures, because all of our PPEs, all the cleaning that we do, we paid for through the CARES Act funds. That's why we could not request the state to reimburse us.
So.
Any questions?
Are there any comments or questions from board members? Okay, can I have a motion?
Support.
Support by Commissioner Kinlaw. Questions on the motion?
Madam Chair,
Sir.
I'd like to abstain on this vote, please.
Noted, Commissioner Kenizik. Okay, so approval. So Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Kenizik, Commissioner Kinlock,
Yes.
Commissioner Basham,
Yes.
Vice Chair Scott, Chair Clark Holman.
Yes, the motion carries. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Item 3, requesting commission approval of a cooperative purchase agreement with Gorno Ford.
Good morning again, through the chair. We are requesting your approval for a purchase through My Deal. This is with Gorno Ford. It is a Wayne County vendor. This purchase is grant funded. We are purchasing 4 vehicles for secondary roads, 3 with K9 unit cages and 1 without. In the audience is Lieutenant Gloucester. He oversees and manages the vehicles, the fleet for the sheriff's office. So if you have any specific questions concerning this purchase, he's there to answer. And I'm here to answer as well.
Like to say anything?
No, just vehicle for vehicle. As we get the new vehicles in, we'll take the old ones out of service and auction them off.
Are there any questions from the lieutenant?
So move.
Properly moved by Commissioner Basham, supported by Commissioner Kenizik. Questions on the motion? None. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Kenizik, Commissioner Kinlock,
Yes.
Commissioner Basham,
Yes.
Vice Chair Scott, Chair Clark Holman.
Yes. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Item.
Item 4, requesting commission approval of a 1-year grant agreement with the Michigan Department of State Police, Emergency Management and Homeland Security Division.
Good morning. My name is Brenda Monet from Homeland Security and Emergency Management, along with Brian Herman from Homeland Security and Emergency Management. And this particular grant is the local emergency planning committee uses this particular hazardous materials emergency preparedness grant. We use it to support offsite emergency responses. So we would definitely appreciate your approval for this grant. We are using in-kind contribution, which we will use for salaries and fringe benefits to make up the 25% of the in-kind portion. And Brian, did you, go ahead.
I'll continue. I thought you were finished.
Oh, go ahead.
Move approval, Madam Chair.
Support.
Properly moved by Commissioner Kinlock, supported by Commissioner Basham. Are there questions on the motion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Kenizik, Commissioner Kinlock,
Yes.
Commissioner Basham,
Yes.
Vice Chair Scott, Chair Clark Coleman.
Yes. Item?
Item 5, a presentation by Prosecutor Kim Worthy on LGBTQ issues.
Aye. Madam Prosecutor?
Good morning. I'm very, very happy to be here. I do have some guests with me as well. And I'll introduce one of them later because she's going to co-present with me. I also have members from my office here, Tony Guerrero, Maria Miller, and Lauren Session are also here from my office. So it's been my pleasure to be here occasionally when I come over to really just let you know what we're doing in certain areas. I have found through the years that I should not just come and request items and request money from a body without the body completely having the time to understand what we need it for. And I think over the years, this has been very instructive. We've made many presentations, human trafficking, domestic violence, homicide, IT. And today I want to share with you, and I know some of you know because I've spoken to you individually about this. And also this body has generously contributed to this organization for the last, I think it's 3 or 4 years, $80,000. And so we are going to be making a request to increase that. And I want to just tell you why. And for those of you who do not know about our Fair Michigan project, it's a project that we started back in 2016 in conjunction with Dana Nessel, who it predates the time that she's been our Attorney General. I know some of you, like I said, are familiar with this. And I called her one night, and this is how, so I called her one night. I literally couldn't sleep, and literally it was at night. And I had recently found out about the murder, the unsolved murders, the neglected murders of 6 trans women of color in the Palmer Park section of our city of Detroit. And literally no one was doing anything about it. It seemed like nobody cared. There had not been any investigation. And I was of the mind that I wanted to change that, but I didn't know how, other than doing what I always do, coming to advocate, coming to talk, coming to cajole, coming to beg sometimes people to do something to get these noticed, to get these women noticed. And they were murdered. They were trans women of color and nobody seemed to care. So I called Dana, and I'll call her Dana. I called the Attorney General. And within about 48 hours, she had a whole laid out plan that she came up with. And she named it Fair Michigan. We were partnering together. So my office and her with the president of Fair Michigan at the time. It's the president now is Alana McGuire once she ascended to the role of Attorney General. And what we decided to do, and again, let me just point out, this is the first in the nation unit, certainly first in the state of Michigan, but first in the United States. Now we have a few other offices, prosecutors' offices in Michigan now, that have now partnered with Fair Michigan as well, but we were the first in the nation. And it's a unit that's dedicated to the prosecution, support, and protection for members of the LGBTQ community. I've given you some information, and I'll just read the first paragraph because I think it's important for those that are listening. The Fair Michigan Justice Project is a unique and historic initiative, a collaboration established in 2016 between the Fair Michigan Foundation and the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. Fair Michigan provides a special investigator, a victim's advocate, and a special prosecutor to investigate and prosecute capital offenses committed against members of the LGBTQ community. These cases involve biased crimes against the community where victims have been murdered, sexually assaulted, beaten, robbed, or extorted, among others. Those are just a few of the offenses that we look at. This project, as I said, it was not just the first of its kind in this state, but the first of its kind in the United States. We seek to bridge the gap between the LGBT community and law enforcement by encouraging reporting and creating a safe space to do so. We try to build trust by using dedicated resources and conducting a vertical prosecution and by training local law enforcement. There's a lot of training that happens here in cultural competency and dealing with the LGBT victims and witnesses. Our former special prosecutor, who is now a judge in the Oak Park area, even authored a transgender interaction policy that was adopted by our office in 2016. And I also have a copy of that. I'm happy to send that to you electronically. And so again, we were the first in the country to have that type of policy. The Wayne County has been generously, like I said, supported by the Fair Michigan Foundation by providing an $80,000 grant to support our justice project with the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. Again, this is funded by this body, the Wayne County Commission. We're seeking to increase it to $150,000 annually to support the increased need for our services. Now, I'm not going to go through it and read everything here, but I included a section here that's increase in bias crimes and the need for increased funding. And I'm sure that you all know that just from the local media, that bias crimes have increased exponentially. And again, these are reported by each law enforcement agency to the FBI. It's self-reporting. So we know that this was really a very, very conservative estimate, that we know that the reporting is not always done properly and it's self-reporting again. So I provided some charts and graphs for you to look at. And I should tell you, bias and prejudice and crimes and scare tactics are against this community. And it's the second largest only after race and other types of issues as well. So again, we provided data from national data as to the rise in bias and hate crimes, as well as Michigan data, the state of Michigan data, and data from the Detroit Police Department itself. And so you can look at those and you can see that these bias crimes involving a victim's sexual orientation and or gender identity account for the second largest number of bias crimes committed in Michigan, second only, like I said, to individuals who are targeted because of their race, ethnicity, and I can never say that word, ancestry. So again, this is some basic information for you. I've sent it to all of you. We passed it out today and we're going to send it electronically to the rest of the members of this commission. I want to just review also some of our original players. Like I said, Judge Horowitz in Oak Park was our first prosecutor. I should also say we have a total of 32 convictions and 100% conviction rate. So I wanted to share with you a few of our cases. I'm not going to use any names. And again, we've been going since 2016. We have cases like the defendant will pour gasoline on a victim and attempt to set them on fire simply because of their sexual orientation and gender identity. We have defendants who met the victim for a date, robbed them, put them in the trunk of the car, drove around to find a gun and obtained one and shot the victim multiple times. We have a particularly disturbing one that sometimes I use when I train myself, and we have it captured all on video. I certainly didn't bring that with me today. We have quite a few cases where the meeting was originally on social media, and again, dates were arranged, robbed at gunpoint, and also we had one where our victim was beaten to death very savagely. We have another where we have a couple of murders. We have one that's a very infamous one. I won't mention that now. We have just taken a plea. The only thing I will say, it was a pastor from the city of Detroit who traumatized our victim as well. And again, we have, like I said, we have a couple of ones where we have, again, a victim met for a date. They were robbed, put in the trunk of the car, and again, killed. So this is very necessary. I'm going to have Jaleesa come up in a few minutes and she's going to talk about our work. This is our victim advocate. She is awesome. The minute I met her, she enriched my life exponentially. She is not just an advocate for us in this particular project, but she does so much more. And I don't know how she does this in a 24/7 period. I don't know if any of you have met her, but I want to call her up now. Jaleesa Abad. Herself a trans woman of color. And I just want her to start out by just telling you how she got involved with this project, and then we'll give you more information as well.
Thank you, Madam Prosecutor. So I'm really glad to be here. It's really surreal to be here during Pride Month. And the fact that you guys have allowed this project to go on lets me or want me to tell you how much of an ally you guys have been. So how I got started with the program. In 2016, I myself live in the Palmer Park area and saw an influx of my friends and sisters being murdered and nothing being done about it. I happened to see our Attorney General, Dana Nessel, and Kim Worthy on the news. I called Attorney General Dana Nessel and basically pleaded and told her what trans women of color go through. The fact that I speak 3 languages and have a college degree, I cannot find a job anywhere in the Detroit area because of the social stigma that came with being trans back then. I'm so grateful for this project. Not only has it changed my life, but it has been monumental in helping the quality of trans individuals here in Michigan, specifically trans women of color. So we had started with doing cultural competency in different police departments and agencies because of the mistrust that the trans community had, specifically with responding officers in the 6 Mile and Woodward area. If we have an honest conversation, in 2016, a lot of trans women were being misgendered, were not being identified correctly. Reports would say stuff like a man in women's clothing, which would not make my community want to even feel comfortable in coming forward. We also don't talk about the disparities that trans women of color face. Michigan is still an at-will state, which means you can be discriminated against simply because of how you identify. Certain things that we take for granted, going to the bus, being able to go to a precinct, to be able to report the crime. So through Fair Michigan, we have partnered with different LGBT organizations. One of them is at Bruce Ellis in the 6 Mile and Woodward area. We have had different clients or different victims, go there to testify, to have conversations, to make police reports so that they don't feel intimidated with going into a precinct. We have adapted the trans interaction policy, which has made it astronomical difference in how my community comes forward and even testifies. We had a case with a trans man that was sexually assaulted by 3 different individuals. As their victim advocate, not only did I speak to them and make them know that the defense or the other people in the courtroom might not be culturally competent, but reassuring them that we have that trans interaction policy so that they do feel comfortable to come forward and reflect. Another thing that people don't consider is a lot of trans women of color, specifically in Detroit, in the 6 Mile and Woodward area, do survival sex work. You never think that you're going to be a victim of a crime and have to come here to testify, right? So through Fair Michigan, we have started clothing closets in Wayne County to where people can donate used or new gently used clothes that is court appropriate, so that if anybody in my community is a victim of a crime, they can still feel comfortable and confident to come reflect the way they want to testify against their crime. If we have another honest conversation, with trans women of color that are misplaced, that experience violence, homelessness, violence, all intersect, right? So through Fair Michigan, we have also have a name change program, which has been astronomical for trans women of color and changing what that looks like when applying for a job, going to a doctor's appointment. If you are homeless and you go to nonprofit organizations and they give you a food voucher, what does that look like if you live in an area like myself and now you are outed because your ID does not reflect how you look? So originally, Fair Michigan had funding to help 10 trans women of color. Through then, I have acquired partnerships with Ford Motor, GM Motor, and Dykema Law Firm, where we have helped individuals in Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb, and we have changed 145 trans individuals' documentation with no charge to them. We also have partnered with Corktown Health Center, where victims of our crimes can also go and get mental health services. So that looks like trauma-informed services, so that after they can still have a better quality of life. Through Fair Michigan, we've also partnered with the University of Michigan, where I do a trauma program every Monday from 5 to 7 for trans women of color. We address the trauma that they've experienced, especially if they're a victim of our case. What does that look like so that they can have a better quality of life? They see myself and another colleague for 8 weeks, and individually we address what their needs are. Everybody's needs look different. So somebody's needs might be food disparities, somebody might need a PPO, somebody might need access to medication, whether that's HIV medication or PrEP if they're high risk and do survival sex work. They might need a name change or gender affirming surgery. So we connect them to resources and organizations that do that. After the 8 weeks, we do a soft transfer so that they can continue to get the help that they need. Through the University of Michigan and Fair Michigan, we also have a new pilot program where unfortunately, some trans individuals have not been able to get their name changed because they have low-level nonviolent offenses. So that might look like a driving with the suspended that now has turned into a warrant. And because they cannot get employment or they do survival sex work and don't have a stable place to live, they have not been able to pay that. So we have a pilot program where we are helping 5 individuals address those issues so that then they can have a better quality of life and go through the name change program. So those are a lot of the services that we offer at Fair Michigan and the Fair Michigan Justice Project. I want to thank you for even giving me the time to come up here. Again, I can't stress how invaluable not only has this project been for myself, but for genuinely changing the quality of life for LGBTQ people in Detroit, but specifically trans women of color. And for that, I'm always so grateful. So thank you.
Can you walk them through, if we have one of these victims that we talked about? And unfortunately, one of the ones that survived, we have murders as well, unfortunately. And what you do specifically to help them through the court process.
So we had a trans woman of color that was standing on 6 Mile and Woodward. She was robbed by 3 individuals at a Project Greenlight. It was captured on camera. They asked for her purse and she gave them the purse and threw it on the floor. Out of the LGBT umbrella, trans people, for whatever reason, experience higher things of brutality and violence. So not only did she give them the purse, they still decided to shoot her 5 times and leave her laying there. What that looked like was, one, trying to find her a stable place to stay, trying to accommodate the things that she needed. So in the process of healing, she needed a bed, a bedpan, a walker, a wheelchair, a cane. Again, she's a trans woman of color that was doing survival sex work. So when it was time to come to court, she felt uncomfortable because she didn't have the things that she needed to be able to present the way that she wanted to. We were able to provide her toiletry items, clothes, make sure that she had a ride there. We pick up our victims, we make sure that they get back safely as well. If they have to testify and we still have to go to court, we have partnered with different hotels so that we put them in safe places so that they don't have to go back to the place where they were traumatized or be in a bad situation. We make sure that they are fully aware of what to expect when they walk in. We make sure that the police departments that they might have to go to or the police officers that they deal with are culturally competent and have a conversation with me before they even interact with the victim. So what I've loved about this project is that they have seen me, and when Jamie was there, one person from start to finish, which has made it very, very easy as opposed to them having to be re-traumatized or explain all of these things again.
And we have the $80,000 is provided by this commission, partially pays for her salary. We have a new prosecutor coming in. As you know, Jamie Ford is now a judge. But when she ascended to the bench, Dana Nessel, our Attorney General, graciously allowed her staff to pick up our cases because we just don't have, as you know, the resources. And so now we are going to be hiring, we have hired another special prosecutor who just retired, a woman named Pam Towns, who is a 30-year veteran prosecutor. And she's going to be housed at our office, following our office policies, et cetera. And even when the attorney generals took our cases for about a year, they still reported to us on this project. So that's why we're asking for the additional funding. It doesn't come close to what is needed from a historical criminal standpoint. And that's why I want you to understand what she did. Without her, we would not be where we are now. We would not be able to get people to come to court. We would not have our conviction success. We would not have these defendants off the street where they belong. And we want to make sure that this continues. So we've asked for.
I just said thank you.
Oh, I love this one. We've asked for an increase from the $80,000 to $150,000 in our budget request.
Oh, where are you located?
Being the project.
I'm sorry. What is her name again?
Jaleesa. So Jaleesa, yeah, so our address is actually Plymouth, but we are located everywhere. So every prosecuting office that we work with. So I directly work at a Frank Murphy in 36th District. Another point that I wanted to make to you guys was not only have we been able to prosecute crimes against my community that I know would not happen without this project, but because of how the dynamic has shifted with my community and police interaction and them feeling comfortable, they have called out and reached out to other crimes that have nothing to do with LGBT things, whether it was something that they saw that they thought that people wouldn't listen to them or take them serious because they were trans. Now my community feels comfortable in reporting all crimes, which has changed the dynamic. So I just wanted to say that as well.
Also, how many people are working with you? You're not doing this all by yourself, right?
Oh, but I am. So it's me, a special prosecutor and an investigator. So yes.
And the other outreach work she does that she's doing herself. Yes. And I should tell you now that since we started in 2016, worked with Fair Michigan. I know Washtenaw County, I don't know if they've done any cases yet. Ingham County in the Lansing area and Oakland County.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, Commissioner Kinlaw.
Thank you, Madam Prosecutor, for making this presentation. As you mentioned, we absolutely hear the violence that occurs within this community. So you're absolutely to be commended for bringing this forward and leading in this project. I want to ask, where's the status of your request? Is it coming through the general appropriation process, budgetary process, or is it a specific request that will be coming through Ways and Means?
Well, I will call the $80,000 a grant because I know we've been getting it for, I don't know exactly how many, 4 or maybe even 5 years. And I would like to call the name of the commissioner who I originally talked to, but I can't remember. So no disrespect to that commissioner. I think I know, but I don't want to call the wrong name. So it comes out of the general fund. And again, I'm just asking for the increase from 80,000 to 150,000.
Okay, so thank you. Thank you.
My general fund. So we haven't yet gotten at least I'm not aware of us getting the CEO's recommendation yet. So I don't know what the CEO's position is.
Well, I'll be talking with both the chair of Ways and Means and the chairwoman of the county commission and serve on Ways and Means. And absolutely, this is something very important.
But I am going to share all of our materials. The materials that I spoke that we passed out today are trans policy, as well as, and that's it. I'll share with the entire commission.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to thank Prosecutor Worthy and Jaleesa for what they've shared with us here today. It feels like every day we're watching in the news where people's rights are being stripped away. People don't have access to our criminal justice system. People are being left behind and forgotten. And to pave this way and to be a tip of the spear in doing so, I think just reflects so profoundly well on you both and the commitment that this county is making to serving and making sure that we can provide justice for everybody and to do so equitably in this county. So I just wanted to say thank you, and like Commissioner Kinlock, wanted to express my full support for this request, and that I'll be reaching out to our chair over here and the other folks on the budget side to let them know how important this is and why we need to make sure that we are putting our money where our mouth is when it comes to protecting all communities here in Wayne County. So just again, for lack of a better word, a really deep and profound thank you for the work that you're doing. I really appreciate it.
As I thank you for that. As always, I want you to see how we are spending our appropriations that we get and how it's never enough. But I do believe, I'm firm in saying that this body, the Wayne County Commission, is probably the first body in the United States that has earmarked money for this purpose. I'm pretty certain when I say that.
I'm sitting here and I'm asking my helper over here if that was Commissioner Bell that just walked in here, because I can't see that far. And he goes, whoa, no. But it is Commissioner Bell. Chair Bell, it's great to have you here. Would you like to make a comment, Chair Bell?
Oh, thank you.
This is the chair of the commission.
Which is funny because I've never seen you. Madam Prosecutor, hello, how are you? Nice to meet you. No, I think this is awesome. We know and we've seen the violence that this community has undergone over the several years, and anything that we can do to protect and prosecute those offenders is admirable. We need to be a leader in the country on this effort. So I want to thank you, Madam Prosecutor, for bringing this to us. It's something that we know is needed, and we want to be there to assist any way that we can. So thank you for that. Thank you.
I wanted her to come forward because if she's behind it, then it's going to happen. So I'm glad that she did take time to come down here to hear your presentation. And I think it's just wonderful. Is there any other board members who would like to make a statement or ask a question? Any others? Ooh. Commissioner Basher.
I'm not a board member, but I am a commissioner. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for your leadership, Ms. Worthy, and also for your leadership, Fair in Michigan, but also this is about education. If you boil down into this, a lot of this hatred that's going on in our country is about education. It's about people not having enough information. So I guess what in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, why should any crime not be prosecuted? This is one of many that we're not. I know personally of a case of a young man that's dead and it's been over 4 years and they haven't tried his case yet. I mean, you see case after case, and the answer I get is, well, we're only doing 2 trials a week. We're doing COVID. There's always a reason not to do what we should be doing as a society. So I appreciate your leadership in trying to pursue this, but we've got numerous other issues, very, very important, that we should all be supportive of. We should listen to each other, work with each other, and try to get this country not as divided as it is, because it's a huge issue in this country.
Right spotlight on this issue, and we want to continue to do so. So even though we have this partnership with Fair Michigan, and even though we're doing the work that we're doing, even though Jaleesa's doing the fantastic work she's doing, we still need to keep spotlight on these issues.
Well, I just want to thank you, but I'm not surprised because you're always stepping out there in territory that nobody else steps forward with. And you're always a trendsetter. So we are very happy and very proud to have you as our prosecutor, and the fact that you are a trailblazer. So I'm not surprised at this. I'm very happy to see that the light is that you are shining the light on issues of that I too have seen instances in where transgender folks have been beaten, misused, and you don't hear anything about what happens after that. So thank you for stepping forward with this issue. It's brave, and it's Jaleesa, right? It is so brave of you to step out there and to help where there was no help. So whatever we can do, and I know I speak for myself as the chair of this committee, that whatever we can do to help you, we would certainly be amenable to do just that.
Immensely.
Yes. Commissioner Scott, would you like to say something?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just wondering why 6 Mile and Woodward? It is my area, and it seems like there's always so much that's happening up there. Do you think it's because of that nightclub that's right there at the corner of Woodward, or?
The area is known for drug usage and prostitution as a whole.
Okay.
So I don't know what terms everybody knows. So is everyone familiar with the term cisgender? Just nod, yes, no? Okay. So if you were born in the body you identify in, then you are cisgender. I do not identify in the body I was born, so I'm transgender. So if we talk about 6 Mile and Woodward, on John R., cisgender women stand and do survival sex work. Trans women stand on Woodward. There are cisgender men that stand on Covington. All of this is in the same area. So I don't think it has anything to do with the club. I've only been here 10 years, and the whole 10 years I've been here, I've known that Palmer Park is basically known as the concrete jungle. So I think it's just because that is what always has been the area. What has changed it now is being able to have police interaction, being able to come forward, because before all we had was statistics on crimes that was happening to cisgender women. When you would go to the police department and say trans women are being murdered, they would say, well, there isn't an issue. And there was nothing substantiated if every report is wrong and says a man in women's clothing. Or you don't have people that are willing to come forward and testify. So I just think the area has always been like that. What I can say is that there's a different dynamic now with police that respond, how they deal with trans individuals. When we first started this project, I always had to cry and beg for a seat at the table to make changes. Now they realize that I am the table, and before the news is even there, as soon as something unfortunately happens to my community, police officers literally call me, the precincts call me. We work together now. They're very inclusive, respectful, wanting to make the quality of life better for every Michigander.
Thank you so much for what you're doing. It's just a blessing to that area
Madam Chair.
all around. So So again, thank you. You're always on the cutting edge.
That's true.
You know, and so I'm just grateful that you are working with all the prosecutors in the area to get this done. So thank you so much, Meg.
Just want to add, the 6 Mile and the 7 Mile area was an area where over the years, or specifically over the past 50 years, it was an area where LGBTQ community had a lot of nightclubs and other entertainment venues that were there. Heaven, which I come from the music industry background, it was a club called Heaven that was located on 7 Mile and Woodward, internationally known. That's where a lot of the techno and house music DJs used to come from around the world to actually play. It has since been demolished and McDonald's was constructed there. And then you also had a also renowned club called Heaven that was also along Woodward as well. Yeah, in 6 Mile.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for Jaleesa for coming down and educating us. Because I think all of us need to be educated on this issue. Good. Okay, so do we have any other comments? Okay, thank you so much, Prosecutor. I know that for you to, I know you're busy, you're being pulled in so many different directions, but so we appreciate the fact that you took time to come yourself and to brief us on all the work that you're doing. This is not the first, this is not the first time that you come and brought issues to us that, like Commissioner Scott said, that are cutting edge. And we know that that not only are you a prosecutor, but you have a heart, and we appreciate that. So if there's no other comments, then we will move to the next item, which is
Item F, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
I have not been informed of any other.
Moving on to public comments.
From the public would like to make a comment at this time.
All lines have been asked
All
to
lines
unmute.
have been opened. Okay, so is there anyone who would like to make a comment? This is public comment. Is there anyone from the public who'd like to make a comment this time? Is there anyone from the public who would like to make a comment at this time? Last call. Anyone from the public who would like to make a comment at this time? Okay, moving on.
Adjournment.
Do I have a motion?
So move.
Properly moved by Commissioner Scott, second by Commissioner Kniesek. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?